mean, Riley Cooper, I mean, like, that dude deserves a statue. I mean, like,
number one on your speed dial.
Hey, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, I didn't know until a couple days after the fact. I was like, wait a minute, is he the MVP or like we got the alternative team?
No doubt about it.
And then Ty Floyd, when I struck out 17, and like stole it from him. But I was like, when has a pitcher like been a part of like 5 of the 6 wins in Omaha? I mean, what a performance!
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time.
Pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Sorry I'm a little late, boys. At the spring game, obviously, as you can see. A couple of booze cruises here to do. Let's fit. Cruise. Grand salami to the boys. Finally back on track. And I got another one coming. Don't you think I don't? And that's how we roll in Tiger Stadium.
Just watching the spring games that were on television, one thing that jumped out about your squad is your quarterback room is very talented compared to a lot of the league and a lot of the country. I wonder, is it easier to recruit that position when you have talent or when you don't have talent? Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling
chance to meet you. Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Tearing up, answering the question, and I thought, my God, if she gets offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast, no matter where we at, we live. Open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show. Yeah.
Let's go! Let's go!
All right. Nice start. Big day. Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time. Welcome in to a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show live here from Click Here Digital on this Monday morning, brought to you by RMB Builders. Remember our friends over at RMB, Red Bourgeois and the crew at rmb-builders.com. Get in touch with him there or find him on Instagram at RMB Builders. Monday morning here, getting ready for LSU's bye week. We will talk and preview a lot of what's coming up for LSU in the second half of the season. We'll also recap where they're coming from as they're coming off of a 62-0 win versus Army on Saturday night, and LSU really dominated Army from start to finish in all assets of the game and all facets of the game, as LSU offensively, defensively, special teams looked fantastic on Saturday night. We'll talk all about LSU's big-time performance. We'll hear from Brian Kelly, and then we'll hear from you. We'll take your Monday phone calls just like we do every single week here on the show. As always, you can get in touch with us. We'll start opening up the phone lines about an hour from now and get your reaction to LSU as they are heading in to Tuscaloosa next here for LSU, as LSU and Alabama will be squaring off on what should be the biggest game of the college football weekend on that first Saturday in November. And also you will find out the time of that game today. I'd imagine that will be a primetime matchup, with LSU moving up from 19 to 15 in the country, and Alabama sliding back into the top 10 as they are ranked number 9 in the country after their Saturday win versus Tennessee, where they blanked the Volunteers in the second half and dominated Tennessee for the last third and fourth quarter of that one in Tuscaloosa. So a matchup that we will talk about and build up for about 2 weeks and then kick it off. It is a typical LSU Alabama build-up for this one, as it feels like it's going to be another special contest that's going to shake out a lot of what happens in college football this season. It feels like this game is going to dictate what happens in the SEC West. It feels like this game will have some type of implication on what the college football playoff is going to look like. And LSU is rolling into Tuscaloosa with the best offense in the country, while Alabama is feeling themselves defensively, only giving up 16 points per game. Something's going to have to give before LSU and Alabama meet on November 4th. So it is going to be a nice build-up. It'll be a nice way to talk about LSU and the Tigers as they get ready for a trip to Bryant-Denny that we will recap. Stewie is here on this Monday morning as we get set. We have some sound here from Brian Kelly that we want to get to. Remember, our phone lines daily are brought to you by Southern Regional Medical Center. Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, BJ, and the crew over at Southern Regional Medical Center. Real doctors, real solutions. Our friends over there bringing you our phone lines daily. And we do have a text into Billy Embody to see some of the what happened from a recruiting standpoint this weekend, what's going to be on the line in Tuscaloosa, and it feels like that'll be another who's who weekend of recruiting. We also want to update some stories from Saturday night. Zy Alexander went down in the second quarter. That should have a big impact on this game if you're looking at LSU from just a personnel standpoint. After Saturday, LSU went into that game. Denver Harris was inactive. Deuce Chestnut is still not with the team. J.K. Johnson obviously was injured earlier in the season before the year started. And then, of course, on Saturday night, Zy Alexander goes down with what they're calling a lower leg injury. It did not look good as he was coming off of the field on Saturday night. So no press conference today from Brian Kelly. He will be meeting with the regular SEC teleconference on Wednesday, and then he'll have his radio show on Thursday. So we will hear from Coach Kelly this week. We will not hear from him today as far as the latest on what is going on with Alexander, or some of the updates on guys like Emory Jones and Mekhi Wingo, who were held out of Saturday's game. I expect both of those guys, Wingo and Jones, to be active for the trip to Tuscaloosa. It will be interesting to hear what is the status on Zy Alexander after Alexander had to leave the game in the second quarter. If that's the case, you're talking about all four of your transfer cornerbacks in this offseason, with some type of story around them, right? I believe that Denver Harris will be ready to go for the trip to Alabama. I do not know the status of Deuce Chestnut. I'd imagine that Brian Kelly is going to update that the next time that he talks. He will also do the same for Zy Alexander, who we saw go down with an injury on Saturday night. And then, of course, as we mentioned, J.K. Johnson was lost for the season before it even started. So, the guys that they brought in, the transfer portal guys, this is not the status that you wanted going into one of the biggest games of the season at the defensive back spot. So definitely will be interesting to hear what Brian Kelly has to say about Zy Alexander when he's able to update his status, because he was speaking after the game, and he was talking about some of the personnel here. Stewie, let's get to some of this post-game sound from Brian Kelly. As we said, our crew is over there. Appreciate Grant Haskell and the crew for bringing back our sound inside the media room after the game. LSU wins 62-0, and here is Brian Kelly speaking about Zy Alexander and just what happened to him. He also talks about LSU and this offense staying consistent now for 7 straight games, putting up 500 yards or more.
You guys are running right now.
Yeah, a lower body injury that'll get evaluated here over the next 24, 48 hours. We'll get a better picture of that. The offensive efficiency is one where you look towards one guy and then somebody else steps up. Last week Brian Thomas didn't have but 1-2 catches, I think, and then obviously has an explosive night tonight. So we just have so many different options and so many different weapons, and the running game obviously was not something that we went to right away. We felt like throwing the football was the best way to move the football tonight, but then we come out with in terms of running the game, we rushed for over 200 yards again. So again, I don't know if there's enough superlatives to talk about it, but it's balanced, it's physical, there's playmakers, and it's led by, a quarterback that's as hot as anybody in the, this game, there's no shortcuts. You get what you.
Here is Denver Harris, the status of Denver Harris. This is 3, Stewie, of Brian Kelly talking about what was going on with Denver on Saturday night and what his availability was.
Available to play in this game?
No, inactive.
Pretty quick. We will wait to see what the status of Harris is moving forward, but here he is updating the cornerback room as this is a thin group, obviously, with what's happened from an injury standpoint with just J.K. Johnson and Zy Alexander alone. You're talking about 2 of the guys that you were heavily counting on not being there, and then the inactive status of Denver Harris along with Deuce Chestnut being away from the team. You're talking about a very thin group right now. Here was Kelly talking about his defensive backfield and his cornerbacks.
Back rooms are developed over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I was pleased with Hughes' performance out there. We played him at corner. I thought he did a really good job. They ran a a double move on him. His eyes were good. Jeremiah Hughes, that is, true freshman. You saw Javion Toviano playing some corner. Excuse me. So, those are the guys we've got. We're down to playing 2 corners that are true freshmen. You guys got anybody else? That's all we got. Any other questions about the freshman corners? Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. No, I like them. They're just, they're freshman corners, and those are the 2 that were available to us because Stamps is still out with an injury, and he'll be back hopefully on the bye week.
So Kelly talking about the status of his cornerbacks right now, it's not good. When you're talking about the corners, you can tell by Kelly's demeanor and the way that he's answering the questions there that he's just a little annoyed with the personnel, the lack of, and what they're going to have to try and figure out here before they get to Alabama. One of the bright spots in the secondary, this is 8, Stewie, of Andre Sams. A couple of interceptions for Sams on Saturday night, and Kelly talking about how the junior college transfer, how the transfer out of Marshall has affected LSU's defensive backfield.
I have a cough drop if you need one, and I'm not being
It's
sarcastic.
not a cough drop. It's I don't know. I'm just so excited to be with everybody here tonight. Getting a little choked up.
On a serious note, talking about the defense.
I was serious.
Andre Sam, 2 interceptions, his growth and his progression this season.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. His patience is really what's starting to show. I thought he took himself out of some plays earlier in the year, being maybe just a little too aggressive or out of control. If you remember early on, maybe some missed tackles. He's really settled in and is playing confident and patrolling the middle of the field. He had a couple maybe, he'd like to have back, or he'd had 4 interceptions. But playing at a high level, we need him to continue to do that. If he does, he presents a solid piece for us back there.
Sam playing the position really well the other night. Obviously, he shined with the 2 interceptions. Probably could have had a couple more after Saturday night's performance. Not a lot to take away, obviously, from this Army game. I mean, Army obviously very outmanned by LSU. LSU doing what good teams are supposed to do, right? They are beating up on teams that are beneath them, that are not as good as them, and taking care of business. And they did that on Saturday night versus a Army team that just they couldn't keep up with LSU. They went to 2 true freshman quarterbacks after their starter went down. It was tough to get anything going from an Army standpoint. And for LSU, I think all you can take away, especially defensively from it, is just being able to build more confidence, right? Doing this now for consecutive weeks. I saw Stephen Miller had a 3rd quarter stat that I was reading about earlier, and I wanted to bring that up, and I appreciate Stephen for bringing that back to light. But over the last, I believe, 5 games, LSU has only given up 16 points in the 3rd quarter. I think that's halftime adjustments. That's some type of adjustment. We've talked about, like what has been going on as far as the end game goes. I think that's a clear sign that there is some type of direction and improvement and confidence building that's happening. So for LSU, little things, not much to take away from it, but defensively continue to build on the confidence that they started to grow on a couple of weeks back. And, I think that can carry over here into the bye and then obviously into game week with Alabama on deck next here as a trip to Tuscaloosa is imminent with LSU. So, again, there's, not a lot to really take away from it, but I would say that from a defensive standpoint, when you play a team like Army who is they have an identity offensively. I know a lot of people were talking about that this is a different Army team and they've gotten away from not really. The triple option principles were there. LSU had to stay in assignment tasked football defensively, and they did that. Look, it was not the SEC talent, but you know what I mean? You go out there and you can only play the people in front of you. And LSU took care of business, and I think from that standpoint alone, you grow from a confidence standpoint. Offensively, LSU, again here, as we talk, the numbers are embarrassing when you're talking about LSU right now. Jayden Daniels is the NCAA's total yards leader. Daniels leads the NCAA in yards per game, averaging 387 yards per game. He's also the first player to eclipse the 3,000-yard mark this season. Daniels right now is averaging 9.85 yards per play, nearly a first down every time he touches the ball, which obviously ranks number one passing right now. He's got 2,573 yards passing, which is just 3 yards behind Michael Penix for the most passing yards in the NCAA. He's got 521 rushing yards in the 8 games this season. Only 3 FBS quarterbacks have more rushing yards than Daniels. He's now tied with Caleb Williams for combined touchdown passing and rushing with 30. LSU obviously want to bye this week, but they do have the best quarterback in the country. They've got the best offense in the country, and they may have the best pair of wide receivers in the country, as Nabers and Thomas are on the top of NCAA stats as well. Malik Nabers is leading the NCAA in receiving yards. Brian Thomas is leading the NCAA in receiving touchdowns. So LSU right now offensively is just about as rich as you can get. They got it all. They got a run game. They got 2 wide receivers that are bona fide top 20 picks. They've got the best quarterback in college football. Their offensive line is really coming together. We were talking about the reps that Lance Hurd was able to put together the last couple of weeks as Emory Jones went down early in that Auburn game. Lance Hurd pushed right into the game against Auburn, very much held his own, couple of penalties, but for the most part played solid. And then this weekend, just mauling people. Just absolutely establishing his dominance from a freshman standpoint and growing his confidence into the future. I expect Jones to be healthy for the Alabama game, but in the same breath, you have now taken the opportunity to really start the development of Lance Hurd as far as his in-game reps go. And to see him get those reps like he did on Saturday is going to be hugely beneficial to him, not only down the line and into the future, but probably at some point this season. I think that LSU's got a ton of football left to play with a lot of real high quality games on the schedule. When you're talking about Florida, Texas A&M, Alabama, and a potential SEC title game, at some point you're going to need depth on that offensive line. And if Lance Hurd's the 6th guy up, you're sitting in a really good spot. I thought that, obviously, again, not a lot that you can take away. There's not a lot that you can commit to it, but you got to take care of your business. You got to, just execute while you have the opportunity. And I thought LSU took a great opportunity on Saturday night to do that offensively. This is 10 Stewie of Brian Kelly talking about just Jayden Daniels at this point. How good is he from his head coach's standpoint?
SEC play.
Yeah, look, everybody can have their own, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but he sure looks good to me. And so when your quarterback is playing at that kind of level, he gives you a chance to win every game. He's got a great supporting cast. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, the quarterback drives, you know, college football, the NFL, high school, wherever it is, the quarterback's the driver. And right now he's playing at an elite level.
This is 12, Stewie Moore from Brian Kelly speaking about Daniels and just the progression and steps that he's taken since last season.
You don't. 32 years in this business, if I was staggered by anything an 18 to 21-year-old did, and I wouldn't be in this very long. So staggering does not hit my radar very often. I'm pleased with the discipline that we're showing. And look, we got to work on it every day. I mean, it is a constant day-to-day process that we're in about building good habits and building discipline and doing those things. So, you know, we're 2 years into this, and we have to work on it every single day.
More from Kelly speaking about the vertical passing game and just how much it's grown over the last couple of months.
Well, again, it's a combination of you know, finding your one-on-one matchups when it's man coverage, and then you know, we're getting a combination of some cover too, where, you know, they're rolling the corner to Malik's side, and, you know, you got split safeties, and those kids are pretty good. They're going to run off safeties anytime. So I just think it's, you know, again, we're going to take advantage of our athletes in space against, you know, what you give us in terms of coverage. And if you're going to play a lot of cover two, we're going to run the football, and we're going to push the ball down the field vertically. Scary
proposition for anybody who's having to defend LSU offensively right now, because as Brian Kelly is explaining, they have just a multiple ways that they can beat you, and they do it with a ton of confidence. Whether it's a running back in Logan Diggs and the offensive line that is starting to gel and really come together, or this passing game that is embarrassingly good. Here is Kelly talking about more of the success that LSU is experiencing right now offensively. Is it 6?
Yeah, that's 6.
That was 6?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From last season to this year, LSU is sitting in the same spot. They're 6-2. This is 9. 6-2 heading into the bye weeks. Kelly looks back at last year's team and kind of talks about the similarities of where they are heading into this matchup, this time on the road against Alabama.
This team to be itself.
Not really. You know, we talked about it, you know, after the Missouri game a little bit. You know, hey, we're at 4-2. You know, this is where we were last year. But we haven't since that time really talked about it, because that was kind of like, you know, getting over the disappointment of, you know, playing poorly. But it's really just been about, you know, now, you know, playing with the right, you know, mindset each and every week. And I think they're beginning to obviously grab hold of that.
So LSU offensively, man, right now they are the best offense in the country. I think that when you watch this offense play, it's tough to recognize just how good they are, man. I mean, even against lower quality opponents like Saturday night, the way that they were executing it against higher end opponents like they have throughout the last 5 weeks. I mean, this LSU team right now offensively is just as unstoppable as any offense in college football. If you were watching this weekend, Washington went to Arizona State and nearly had the wheels knocked off. They were held to 16.
They were in Washington.
I'm sorry. They were in Washington, and they were battling Arizona State, a bad Arizona State team, a 1-win Arizona State team on the season, and Washington had a very much off night. Penix and his crew just uncharacteristically turnovers and missed opportunities and just. Look, not what you expect to see from somebody who is talked up as much as Penix is. And for Jayden Daniels and LSU, it's all built up to the moment, right? Like these moments that Daniels needs to capture some type of Heisman moment, some type of moment that makes sense for the national media to really get behind Daniels. That's coming up. And I think he's pulling in to Tuscaloosa with about as much momentum as he could have built up here in the first 8 games of the season, right? Like, I mean, he's done all he can do to make this matchup for him as monumental as it feels. I mean, it feels as if this is the moment, the matchup that if he's going to be the Heisman winner here in 2023, he's going to have to shine in this moment. I mean, he's really going to have to take advantage of all the eyeballs from around the country, a top 10 defense in Alabama, and being on the road and being on national television, being in prime time. All of what's going to go in to that matchup is going to give Jayden Daniels a great opportunity to capitalize on all of the attention, all of what is around him right now. So obviously this game is going to be, it's going to feel like probably 2 years to get through these next 2 weeks, but it's the same LSU Alabama game sitting at the end of the rainbow here that we've been talking about, which feels like for the last dozen years, 10 plus years. I mean, the same type of interest, the same type of build-up, the same amount on the line, and you're talking about two teams that something's got to give. Best offense in the country to a trending defense right now that's getting a lot of attention. Playmakers at every level, right? I mean, guys like Dallas Turner and Kool-Aid McKinstry and guys that we'll talk about over the next couple of over the next couple of days and weeks will obviously be something that we talk about on how, if Alabama, Alabama's going to have a plan, what their plan is going to be against this Alabama squad. So we'll see, man. It's going to be interesting. It will be interesting to hear what is the latest on the defensive backfield, just from a standpoint of who's healthy, who is going to be the options, who is going to be available. Really, I mean, at this point, you're looking for warm bodies. You just need somebody to get off the bus at this point. Remember Daily, we're brought to you by Go Roof, our friends over at Go Roof, GEAUX roof.com. Go Roof, a beautiful roof every single time. Roofs up with our friends over at Go Roof, 225-927-8300. Roofing contractors right here in Baton Rouge, but serving all of South Louisiana for your residential, commercial, and roofing repair needs. All of it over at Go Roof. You can log on, as we said, to GEAUX roof.com, but they're serving Baton Rouge, Hammond, New Orleans, Lafayette, Gonzales, Prairieville, Denham Springs, and surrounding areas. Online at GEAUXroof.com, GEAUXroof.com. Over with Go Roof. Free quotes available, free and quick inspections. So if you feel like you got some damage on the roof, those guys will be out there today. Jump up on the roof and work with your insurance company so you can take the headaches out of this process. They are licensed and insured and proudly been supporting the community since 2005. Online at GEAUXroof.com, 225-927-8300, a 2-year free workmanship guarantee with all new roof installations when you work with our friends over at Go Roof. Check them out online, GEAUXroof.com. A beautiful roof every single time. We'll be back. More of the show here. We'll open up the phone lines 30 minutes from now. More from Brian Kelly. We'll talk a little bit more about this LSU-Bama game matchup, and we'll recap the weekend as it was another solid slate of college football. Some surprises, some upsets, some big wins. We'll talk about them all next here on the show. Built every day by R&B Builders. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by Hebert's Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, Hebert's Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. Hebert's can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-4600. 8022. Heber's Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here you go.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Let's be special. Let's be strong. Let's spell greatness from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
A real passion of mine is ACL injuries, but not just really in the treatment of ACL injuries, but how do we keep them from happening? So right here at Ochsner, we're doing some research studies on ACL injury prevention. We're working with some of our high schools, and we're testing different functional tests for athletes. And we're trying to identify people that are at risk for ACL tears. We're trying to catch them before those ACLs happen. And then we want to intervene with some injury prevention programs. And that's something that, being part of Ochsner Andrews Institute, we can continue on that research. We can expand the impact of that research. We can bring that to more athletes in our community.
All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friends over at R&B Builders. Check out R&B online at rmb-builders.com or on Instagram at R&B Builders. Looking at the slate of games here for Saturday, November 4th, obviously the headline game is going to be LSU and Alabama. And that has been the headline game for many a year on that first Saturday in November.
Texas A&M goes to Ole Miss, too, that week.
Texas A&M, Ole Miss is a good one. The one that I believe is going to catch a lot of people and really going to be an intriguing game for the conference and for the country is, and let me make sure that it is on this weekend, is Georgia, Missouri. I really believe that after watching Missouri the last 2 weeks take care of business against a Kentucky team that was motivated at home to play, and then South Carolina, who had their backs up against the wall, making a road trip into Como this weekend and just got their heads kicked in by Missouri in the way that they're playing. They have built some confidence over the last 2 weeks, and I look at that Georgia-Missouri game, and I look at it as a great primer for that Bama-LSU game. I mean, you talk about implications not only in the SEC East, but, you know, really from a countrywide standpoint with the number one team on the field against somebody that they're going to have to respect. And look, Georgia's passed all the tests. I mean, anytime anything's been built up for them, they've really flexed. I wouldn't expect anything different, but I do look at this Missouri team as someone and a squad that there's no way you can overlook. And from Georgia's standpoint, they've got to have their full attention. So, yes, I do, Stewie, I agree. I mean, Washington, USC is that weekend with Penix and Caleb Williams. obviously would not be a threat with the CBS coverage because of the Pac-12's contract with Fox. But as far as the slate of games go that day, obviously LSU Alabama is going to be the headline. Texas Ole Miss is an intriguing game. A lot of interest, obviously, for LSU fans. When you're looking at Ole Miss, you need them to lose again so you can catch that tiebreaker and if you beat Alabama and end up in Atlanta. But I think that the second biggest game on the docket that day is Georgia-Missouri. I really do. I think that Georgia, obviously coming off of the bye this week, they'll be in Jacksonville taking on Florida. That's a game that is going to get a lot of their attention. I expect Georgia to have really no issues with Florida this weekend, but it will be a game that's going to be, just an emotional one for the program. It always is from a rivalry standpoint, and then Missouri's coming in the next weekend. I don't know. Look, we're going to find out what time these games kick off today, right? They'll announce the November 4th weekend today as far as what the times and what the networks are. And I fully expect LSU and Bama to be a primetime matchup. I know that this game was not a primetime game in 2019 when you had 1 versus 2. And, both of them were undefeated going into the game. And it was, Tua versus Burrow, and offenses that were just out of this world were going up against each other. I was surprised when that game was not slated for 7 p.m., and it did kick off at 2:30, but it had monster numbers. I mean, it had as if it was a primetime game type of number. So it will be interesting. If I'm betting on it, I think LSU-Bama kicks off at 7. I think Georgia-Missouri kick off at 2:30. I mean, that would be my guess at it with, that would be my guess as to what the Saturday looks like for LSU-Bama.
ESPN could be trying to scoop that Georgia-Missouri game up too.
Well, so CBS is going to have the first option, and then ESPN will have they're up next, right? So you're looking at that Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Georgia-Missouri game, and on paper it feels like Georgia-Missouri would not be the selection. If you're just on paper looking at it, just on the name brands, I think you would take Texas A&M and Ole Miss. But I think if you look at what could be on the line, at the implications of it, at just where Missouri is heading into that game, and the opportunity that Drinkowitz and that program has, that might be the selection. It's going to be interesting. They've got a lot of good games.
But if Missouri beats Georgia, does that mean that they would go to the SEC championship because they would have the head-to-head win in the East?
Yes, I mean this would be so. Missouri's only loss in the season is LSU. Yeah, absolutely.
But Missouri would have 2. Well, no, they'd have 1 loss.
Yeah, they'd have 1 loss, and it would be to a Western Division opponent. I mean,
wow.
So they'd have the head-to-head in the East. They'd win the East.
Wow.
So I mean, it's a huge game. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, and their offense seems to be not scared of anyone. It doesn't seem like they're going to back down from anyone. And it's just, look, I wouldn't be surprised if they went in there and got blown out. I mean, I know who Georgia is. I know how good Georgia is. But if I'm Georgia,
I'd be
you better buckle that thing up, man. I mean, it's not going to be some, just turn the lights on in the stadium and you win the game. I mean, I really believe this is going to be a matchup for Georgia that they're going to have to watch out for, and then it plays into the LSU-Alabama game. Either way, you're looking at a Saturday of football that's going to be awesome.
Yep. Florida State goes to Pittsburgh. Could get weird for Florida State. They kind of struggle.
They flirt with weird.
Yeah, they flirt with getting beaten and they pull it away in the end. But Duke was giving them a fight.
Yeah,
they were in a fight with Duke.
when Riley Leonard got hurt, the game changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they were giving them everything they could handle, man. I mean, they really good football this weekend. That was on. CBS does have the doubleheader for November 4th. I know some of you were curious, but yes, I mean, they routinely secure the doubleheader matchup this Saturday. And look, it was built around this LSU-Alabama game. I mean, if you go back to 2011 to the game of the century, I mean, this is where this primetime matchup started. And then for about the next 7 seasons, I mean, really, it was a night game. The first time it was not a night game. It felt like it was 19. I mean, all the way up to I mean, you start thinking about the 2012 matchup. That was a
night game.
I mean, a night game. 2013 back in Tuscaloosa, where LSU they played well early, but Alabama ran away with it late. That's the game that J.C. Copeland fumbled on the 1-yard line and Landon Collins nearly scooped and scored it. That was a night game. 2014 is the Vidal Alexander personal foul game, where you got a chance at the end to win the game. Ended up going into overtime, losing to Lane Kiffin, Blake Sims, and that Alabama crew. Nighttime.
Was that the Jarvis Landry over the DV?
That was 2012.
2012.
That was 2012. 2014 is when
Gamble kicked it out of bounds.
when Gamble kicked it out of bounds, and Vidal Alexander got the personal foul when LSU recovered the fumble from T.J. Yeldon.
Yeah, like inside the 10.
Oh, inside. They're knocking on the door. And Vidal Alexander gets it's a terrible call.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, he gets a personal foul. LSU settles for 3.
Bama go score.
Gamble kicks it out of bounds. Kiffin takes him right down the field. Calls one of the most beautiful 2-point conversion plays I've ever seen.
Was it the rub screen on Jalen Mills? Yeah, I remember it. I
mean, standing there by himself, 2-pointers good, go into overtime, kick off overtime, kick it to Leonard Fournette. Reuben Foster screams down the field and decapitates Fournette in front of the Alabama section, and the entire Alabama bench pours on
to the field,
to Tiger Stadium's field, and gets in front of their band and starts pumping them up, and it was over.
Yeah, it was done.
I mean, it was
Saw
over.
Superman bleed.
It was over. 2015
was the first college football playoff
back
rankings.
in Tuscaloosa.
LSU.
First college football playoff. LSU is 2. Bama is 1. Fournette is having the season of the century. There's no way that Miles is going to pack this team up and take him over to Tuscaloosa and just run Fournette into the wall. That's what everybody in the country is expecting, right? Sure enough, Miles lines him up, and Fournette is literally, he can't find a crease. He can't find a eye hole to run through.
Couldn't break the line of scrimmage.
I mean, he's bouncing outside. He's trying to run everywhere but in between the tackles, and they just run him out of the Heisman Trophy race.
Gave it to Derrick Henry that night.
Derrick Henry got it that night.
Mm-hmm.
Remember him stiff-arming Jamal Adams?
Yep.
Into the end zone?
For about 30 yards.
2016 was the game with Ogeron, 10-0, Duke Riley. The fumble on the goal line.
Missed the
was
whole
it a fumble?
call.
Was it not a fumble?
It was a fumble.
Jalen Hurts was the only touchdown in that game very early on. Bama got a fourth-quarter field goal, 10-0, but a absolute dogfight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that was probably one of the best LSU defenses we've seen in a while.
It was. That was
after 2011.
That was a heavyweight fight. So, I mean, all of these games are at nighttime, right? 2017. This is that might have been the first time that it was not on night, because that 17 team was not that good. Right?
What time did they play? They might have played at 2:30.
Possibly. 18 was
they
Burrow.
played in Alabama.
That one was in Bama.
That might have been a night game too.
18 was Burrow's first matchup. He had the separated shoulder that week. It was just a terrible game.
Yeah, I think 17 was that night, because that was when Ronnie Harrison took the ball from Darius Geis. Danny Edling tries to throw him like an out route, and he just takes it from him. Yeah.
It was at night.
It was a night game.
It was a night.
Yep. Another LSU Alabama
18,
night game.
Burrow, separated shoulder during that week. That was
a night game.
That was a night game.
Beating his chest on the Tiger Walk.
Mm-hmm. That was a night game. And then 19 was 2:30. 1 versus 2.
And then they went right back to night in 2020.
Right.
And then 2021 was a
but
night
2020,
game.
But last year was not a CBS primetime
game.
ESPN. It was an ESPN primetime matchup. So, I think that CBS, there's no way they can look at last year's game and pass on it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you can look at last year's game and pass on it. Not only that, last year's game with the body of work, but, I mean, the players that are on this field, right? I mean, look, I think Alabama's defense is scary.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're going to be a heck of a matchup for the offensive line. I'm interested to see what they do with McKinstry, right? I mean, McKinstry's going to be the first cornerback taken in the NFL draft. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is he a sophomore?
No, he's a junior.
Yeah, he's a junior. He's
so do you follow him? Do you let him
I don't
follow
know.
Malik?
I don't know. I'm anxious to see what Saban does to this offense, like what his plan is. I don't think anybody can stop him, but it will be interesting to see what he decides to do with one of these guys. If he tries to play some type of bracket scheme on both, I don't know. I don't know what you do literally to try and defend LSU's defense. That's why I cannot wait to see what one of the best minds in defense is going to try and do to this offense. I mean, I don't know if you follow Malik all night.
If I'm Bama, I don't follow him with McKinstry. I don't know if Bama has a DB that could cover either one of them, but
they don't.
McKinstry's the best one.
Yeah.
And if he could hold up for at least a quarter, I'd be satisfied if I'm Bama, but I don't think he could hold up more than 2 quarters for sure. Because Malik's going to get his, and if Malik's not getting his, Brian Thomas is getting his.
Well, and look, we've talked about the power of the third receiver for LSU. I think this is the game where a third pass catcher has an opportunity to really, really have a huge night. And when you start looking around, I thought Chris Hilton looked fast on Saturday night, making it back from that ankle sprain that he suffered in Ole Miss a couple of weeks back. You know what Kyron Lacey can do after his performance against Auburn. Aaron Anderson looks as if he's starting to pick up a little bounce as well. And I really believe that the third wide receiver against Alabama has potential to have an enormous night. I really do. I think that Saban will have some sort of plan for these wideouts. Will he be able to stop them? I do not believe so. I do not believe so. But I do think that he will have a plan, and early on that will allow some of these other guys, and it might be Mason Taylor too, right? I mean, Mason Taylor had a huge game against Alabama last season, not just the 2-point winner. I mean, he had a touchdown grab. He had big catches in that game. I mean,
I don't know if Mason Taylor's healthy.
I don't know if he is or not either.
He I'm not going to say he doesn't look healthy, but he doesn't look 100%.
2022.
Yeah, he doesn't look like fast. He's not like cutting, making people miss, running people over. He's kind of like just steady.
So, I mean, look, this is something's got to give, right? When you're talking about this defense, when you're talking about this offense, it's going to be a ton to build up here over the next couple of weeks here and talk about it. All right, so we want to take your phone calls, and we're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to get going here and take your phone calls. So if you want to line up and get going, let's start to line up here and get them in. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Katie's Restaurant over in New Orleans is located at 3701 Iberville Street. That is right in the heart of Mid-City. You can check out the menu online, but look, it's some of New Orleans' favorites. They've got St. Louis-style pizza. They've got cold beer. And look, we've told you about their new Sunday hours. If you are looking for a spot to post up and watch NFL football on Sundays, even pregame and postgame, if you have plans of going to the Dome, Katie's is a great spot to remember. Katie's has been around since 1984. It is a fantastic atmosphere that you got to check out. Scott Craig has done a great job of really kind of taking the feel and the sense of the city and putting it in to a couple of square feet on Iberville Street for you to capture all of it. Katie'sInMidCity.com. Katie'sInMidCity.com. A true neighborhood restaurant. Like if you're looking for that neighborhood appeal in New Orleans, something like a neighborhood restaurant, Katie's is a great place to check that out. On Iberville Street, Katie's is located there, and online, Katie'sInMidCity.com. Katie'sInMidCity.com is where you can find them online. So if you have thoughts about Saturday night, we'll take them. If you have thoughts about this LSU-Bama game, we will start to talk about that game as well. Jayden Daniels right now feels like he's inserted himself into the driver's seat of this Heisman Trophy race after the weekend that Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and Drake May had. It looks as if the conversation is starting to shift to Daniels as the truest form of the best quarterback in college football. Does he have some competition? Absolutely. But when you look at the numbers and you just watch him play, it seems very clear that the signal caller in Baton Rouge is the guy. I mean, it really does. I mean, the command, the ease, the confidence. I don't know if you saw it last week. Brian Kelly said he had to change the office hours at football operations because Jayden Daniels was getting into the building at 5 a.m. And Brian Kelly was like, look, man, I love the commitment, but you're overworking. I need you rested. I need you making sure you're on point during the day. So he had to change the office hours. I think they closed the doors now until 8 a.m. in the morning because Daniels he was too eager. I don't know if there's such a thing. I mean, if you're a coach, you love to see the commitment from your player and the guy who wants to win, and you don't want to, really kind of decompress that. But in the same sense, Kelly is saying, like, look, man, you're dominating the position right now. You're playing the position as good as the position can be played. So let's make sure you get your rest. Let's make sure that you're on point from an energy standpoint. There's just a lot that's going in to making sure right now that he is producing every weekend, and it's so fun to watch him play right now. I mean, both on the ground and through the air, he kills you. I mean, that play he made to Brian Thomas the other night, I'm not here to talk about the defense. I'm not here to talk about the other team. I'm here to just say that is so elite and such good quarterback play that you can't get enough of it when you watch him, man. I mean, that rollout, little flick of the wrist, you know how hard that is?
That's the play that got Bryce Young drafted 1 overall.
Yeah.
Those type of plays.
Really, that play to Thomas the other night, you will see that play on draft day over and over again because it's showing off everything that Daniels can do. His mobility, his vision, his touch, his accuracy, all on display in one rep. And forget who's it against, forget the DBs, forget any of that. That play against air is tough to make. And for as easy as Daniels made it, gives you an idea at just the level that he's playing the position right now. Very lucky, all of us, right now, to be having a front row seat to being able to watch this quarterback play. It feels very exact reminiscent of 2019. I remember looking up in 19 and saying, this is, I remember telling my son, Jordan, like, man, remember this. Remember what you're watching. I still remember what Tommy Hodson looked like playing quarterback at LSU. Because my grandfather and my old man would tell me, like, hey, man, this stuff doesn't happen. You don't see 4-year guys start every single year in the SEC and that they're all league. I don't care if you're 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. Remember this. Right? Same goes, my son Jordan still talks about Burrow like he can see him in a coloring book. I mean, he sees it very vividly, that 19 season. He'll tell his kids about what he saw in Burrow. He'll do the same with Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, my son's 2 years old, and he remembers 2019, Joe Burrow.
And your son should be taking in 2023 as he's taking 2019 in. I know when Jay and I are watching football, this is not what it looks like every single year. Mm-mm. This is not how easy the game is executed. Yes, football is an easy game, but it's a hard one to execute. And Daniels and the LSU offense make it look like it is just elementary level. And, up to this point, it's just, it's the best. It's so fun to watch, man. And even Nussmeier getting in there the other night. For his typical bomb over the top. That was a beautiful, timed out, hit Malik Nabers in stride. Those guys have done that hundreds and hundreds of times on the practice field. You can see it. But Daniels is just at another level, man. The game is so slow for him right now. To be able to go through his progressions and even work back to his progressions. Some of the stuff you're seeing with him is just high-level, elite quarterback play that, outside of a couple of seasons, LSU, Baton Rouge, just you've rarely seen it.
For comparison, Jayden Daniels in 2023 through 8 games, 73.1% completion, 2,573 yards, 30 total touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 521 rushing yards. Bryce Young in 2021 when he won the Heisman through 8 games, 70% completion percentage, 2,453 yards, 28 total touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 40 rushing yards.
It's the legs. It's the mobility for me that makes Jayden Daniels. I mean, like, really, everybody was beckoning Daniels, throw the ball down the field, make the big plays, trust these big play wide receivers, put the ball in their hands. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to be the superstar. You don't have to be the best player on the team. You just got to get the ball to the guys around you and let them shine for you, right? And he's understood and accepted and embraced and been able to execute all of that. To me, the difference is his mobility and the way that he can break you down with his legs. I mean, that is to me why LSU's offense is indefensible right now, unguardable, cannot stop. Averaging 9.8 yards per play, Jayden Daniels is, because you're so scared of his ability to get the ball to Nabers, Thomas, and crew that you are in a panic in coverage. Meanwhile, he doesn't like what he sees, and he's 50 yards down the field, and he's running like a running back. He's as fast, he's as shifty, and I mean, it's, thank goodness he hasn't gotten hurt from any of these hits, but he's able to take a hit. I mean, that to me is the difference. That's the difference of him. I mean, you're taking the best quarterback in the country, you're taking the best offense in the country into Tuscaloosa with a defense that's feeling themselves right now. I mean, 12 days. You're 12 days away. I mean, a long 12 days, but we're inside of it. It's a top 15 matchup. As we said, AP poll comes out yesterday. LSU number 15, Bama number 9 in the country. Both teams moving up, and they'll have an incredible opportunity to make that even more of a status after next Saturday's game in Tuscaloosa. All right, your phone calls when we come back. We are opening up the phone lines and we're taking them. If you want to get lined up, line them up now. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by Hughes Mechanical. Hughes Mechanical Contractor and HVAC service down here in Baton Rouge, are located in Zachary, but serving all of South Louisiana. 225-658-2147. Hughes Mechanical Contractors, residential and commercial HVAC services available. A Trust and Daikin dealer that you can get in touch with today online at hughesmechanical.net. Located in Zachary, as we said, but serving all of South Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans, North Shore, all over the place. Hughes Mechanical, online, hughesmechanical.net. Tell Travis Hughes and the crew that you heard it right here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll be back with more of it right here, Built by R&B, right after this. Hour 2, next, Built by R&B Builders. If you're in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about 1 buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge.
What's up?
What's happening?
Chilling with a couple of cool guys. You?
Chilling and watching some tube. Hold on. Did you do it? Hold on. Did you do it?
Rusa.
Hold on.
Rusa?
Rusa!
Rusa!
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
You can't put the cart before the horse. That'd be like, will you marry me?
Do I know you?
Never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof. Call Go Roof instead. We offer a free, no-obligation inspection. A beautiful roof every single time. Bobby, goes in the front.
Roof, roof, Go Roof. Offensive player of the game from LSU, Joe Burrow.
Football is life. Football is Joe Burrow.
Click Here Digital, the home of the Jordy Culotta Show. Online at clickheredigital.com. If you're looking to set Google ads, set social media campaigns, learn about SEO, display video, or even creative, Click Here Digital has the answer for you. Online at clickheredigital.com or email me directly, Jordy at clickheredigital.com.
Well, the Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute collaborative effort was an idea from Dr. Andrews and myself to bring together two great names, the Andrews name and the Ochsner name, to elevate the quality of care for athletes in the state of Louisiana, where he's from.
I always thought I would come back to Louisiana and practice orthopedics with my subspecialty being sports medicine. This was an opportunity through Ochsner's to come back and work the entire state to help develop and take sports medicine to a new level.
As an orthopedic surgeon, what this means in the future in terms of, access for our community to the type of care that Dr. Andrews pioneered, words can't describe how valuable that is.
Ochsner has a great opportunity here to really grow, and Dr. Burnham, of course, is the mainstay of making that happen. If you want to have first-class sports medicine care, check in with Dr. Burnham and his group, and you'll be more than impressed and pleased.
Malik Nabers, a wide receiver.
Favorite pregame meal?
Popeyes.
What would winning a national championship mean to you?
It would mean a lot to me because, we seen a lot of the greats come through here, won their national championship, got, remembered for life.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Probably fly. That or telekinesis.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Do it wrong, do it long. Do it right, do it light.
Kyle Lacey, wide receiver, number 2. Do you have any nicknames?
K2.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Stay humble.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Fly. I be flying in my dreams.
What's been the highlight of your partnership with us?
The bike giveaway was one of the best things. I was pretty excited about that one. Texas A&M, I just got a point to prove because last year I dropped 2 balls I should have caught. I'm coming for them for real.
That's it. Thank you, man.
My name is Harold Perkins, and I play linebacker.
What's your favorite pre-game meal or snack?
Pasta with a little steak, something that's not too heavy.
Any superstitions or pre-game rituals?
I pray a lot. Just be me and God before the game. Perky worky. I like when they call me the percolator. I like that.
If anyone gets in a wreck, who should they call?
Gordon.
Thanks. Where were you born at, Greg?
Hattiesburg, Mississippi. But I claim 504 because I was raised there my whole life. Favorite type of food is spaghetti. But you need to try spaghetti with some corn on the side. Funniest person, I'd probably get Kyron Lacey. He be having joked out every time I talk to him.
Who's the most athletic?
Besides myself. Perk or Malik. Future self, just take one day at a time, one step at a time. If you're doing something, just be where your feet are. Make sure you give 100% effort.
What is something on your bucket list?
Win a Super Bowl. That's definitely on my bucket list.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
time traveling.
Who's the fastest on the team?
Like in a short span, I would say quick trigger, I'm taking perk. One thing most people don't know about me, probably that I moved 12 times growing up, 12 different states.
Who's the most savage on the team?
Mason Smith, definitely.
And who gets it done?
Gordon.
Thank you, man. That's great.
Emory Jones, right tackle.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Got it from my mom, and she just told me, always keep your head on the swivel.
Favorite subject?
Math, easy. I kind of keep it light. Give me some type of red beans or something like that. Throw a little cornbread on the side.
Light with red beans.
Yeah, just a little bit. I am superstitious. I got some PSDs that's purple and yellow and white. I wear them every game. I feel like they my lucky draws, and you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep doing it.
Head health is incredibly important for our student athletes. One of the best ways we're trying to address concussions is on the front end. We're trying to prevent these before they happen. And a big part of that is speaking to the athletes, letting them know what to expect. Okay, speaking to the parents, what to look out for, talking to the coaches so they know the vital importance. Some of the big things we're looking for with the concussion, which is, a traumatic brain injury, is one, was there a mechanism? Was there an injury that took place that could lead to this? Often a direct blow to the head, a head-to-head hit. If someone's showing signs of concussion, our first step is always to remove them from activity, get them to a place where there's less stimuli, where we can really just sit down and get a feel for the athlete, what they're feeling. We're looking for headache, we're looking for dizziness, any sign that coordination is off, that something's just not right. Get a good evaluation of them to understand what's going on. It's not worth the risk that may be there to kind of ignore it, because there are very serious consequences if we don't treat a concussion properly.
Phone calls here live on this Monday morning, just like we do on, every Monday morning here on the Jordy Culotta Show. If you want to get involved, you can. Number is 707-400-5575. 707-400-5575 is the number to get involved here and have a take. Don't suck. We have obviously opportunities to talk about what's going on right now. LSU in the bye week, 8 games into the season. Tigers 6-2, 4-1 in conference play as they head to Tuscaloosa. LSU will be squaring off against the league's best, or at least the division's best of the SEC West. Right now, the top 2 leaders in the division are Alabama and LSU, with the Tigers right there beneath Alabama. So we'll see what can shake out of that game, obviously, coming up here on November 4th. As we said, we take your phone calls every single Monday, so if you want to line them up, you can. 707-400-5575, 707-400-5575 is the phone number to get involved here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We're live here at Click Here Digital. Click Here Digital is, of course, located on Interline Avenue in between Drusilla and Airline. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. Just email me directly, jordy@clickheredigital.com. They are setting social media ads, setting Google ads. They can set you up on YouTube. We've got a direct partnership with ESPN. So if you're looking to if you're just looking to set your ads around sports and what's going on there, we can help you out with that as well. So digital marketing, you need it, get in touch with us. Click Here Digital online, clickheredigital.com. And as always, you can email me directly, jordy@clickheredigital.com is where you can directly get in touch with us. 707-400-5575. Phones are moving. Phones are ringing. We want to take your calls here in the second hour. You know the protocol. We're going to ask you what your name is, where you are calling from, and once you tell us where you're calling from, you are live. You can roll with it after that. Just make sure and have a take, and do not suck here live on this Monday morning. Let's go directly to the phone lines and get moving here on this Monday. 707-400-5575 from Click Here Digital. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello? Fail.
Hello.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Blake Broussard. I'm calling from Lafayette.
What's your take, man? You're on. Go.
why is it that people are downplaying JD5's Heisman odds? I know it's the defense. You could say that, but I'd like to get your take on that. I think is it just haters? Jordy, be real, or is it? I mean, because the numbers are there, man. You know.
Yeah, I don't know if it is as much as we were talking about the past couple of weeks. I think it's too good that you can't ignore it anymore. Because if there is people leaving him out of it, there is a bias. You know what I mean? Because there's no way that you can watch what he's doing and not have him as at least in the top 2. And for really, I don't know how he's not the front runner. Anybody comparing Penix, Williams, all these guys are great. All these guys are fantastic, but they have blemishes on their resume. Jayden Daniels does not. His best game came against Florida State. They went for 400 yards. I mean, it's not like he has this game, this clunker where you can point and say, see, there it is. Now, coming up, Tuscaloosa, that is going to be his Heisman moment. I really believe if he can go into Tuscaloosa and LSU can win, he can just do what he's been doing, you know, like making some of these big plays, making some of these high flying plays, some of these plays with his feet. He's going to have that Heisman moment, and that will be it. And it will also, it's the tale of two stories. Like LSU has been on both sides of them. Burrow had his Heisman moment in Tuscaloosa in 2019. Late in the fourth quarter where he scrambles on the quarterback draw, he picks up the first down, and he gets up and he points the first down. I mean, that was even, I believe Gary Danielson says it in the moment. He's like, there you go. If you're looking for a Heisman moment, there it is.
Yeah.
The other side of it, Leonard Fournette pulled into Tuscaloosa in 2015 as the odds-on favorite. After that game, he didn't even get invited to New York. So, I mean, LSU has seen both sides of it. You can win the Heisman in this game, or you can lose the Heisman in this game.
Awesome. Hey, Jordy, it's been an honor, man. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, man. Appreciate you calling. 707-400-5575 is the phone number. Have a take, don't suck. When we bring you in, we're going to ask you your name, where you're calling from. As soon as you tell us where you're calling from, get after it. Tell us your take. Good call, though. I do not believe that Jayden Daniels is being as disrespected as he once was. Look, man, these people that are covering college football from a national standpoint, it's easy to make fun of some of them. But, I mean, for the most part, they're smart, bright people, right? And, I mean, like, and I hate to break it to a lot of us here, there is not really a bias against LSU. There may be one or two people nationally that have a voice that may not like LSU, but not enough to really steer the conversation. Look, LSU's sitting in a great spot from a national standpoint. You got Booger McFarland, you got Ryan Clark, you got Marcus Spears, you got national voices out there that really can move the meter on LSU. And they do what they pull their weight. I mean, they constantly make sure that you know where they went to school. And that only helps LSU. And really, if the bias against LSU, I think it's more the league. I think it's more the SEC. I think every team outside of Alabama can really complain about, some sense of a bias against the league. LSU's seen their fair share. So is Tennessee. So is Florida. So is Georgia. So is Texas A&M. I mean, I think, teams have experienced some sense of disrespect from a national standpoint. It's gotten to now where I don't think you can. LSU, I really don't think you can leave him out of it. If you left him out of it at this point, you would lose credibility with your job. I mean, if it's your job to cover college football and you don't have Jayden Daniels within the top 3 of your Heisman race, what are you watching? Or what's the criteria? If he hasn't done enough, then what's it take? Well, his team's lost 2 games. So has Caleb Williams. And Drake May got beat on Saturday night. I mean, you're getting into the point of the schedule. That stuff doesn't hold up. So, 707-400-5575 is the phone number. We will take your phone calls just like we do every single Monday here on the Jordy Culotta Show. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. So I believe that Jayden Daniels will have an opportunity. All right, we had some questions from yesterday, our Social Sunday, which we did not get to. We appreciate everybody for catching us on our Sunday edition of the show, recapping the weekend and looking ahead. Obviously, it's a bye week, but we did have a couple of questions coming in from social media, part of our Sunday socials. And we'll start with Trey. And this is a question about the Heisman. And the one name that I continue to see in comparison's sake with this Heisman Trophy race is J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. And I can't believe it. I mean, like, I can't believe that there is a true push for McCarthy in comparison to what Jayden Daniels is doing. I mean, he's thrown for 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 3 picks, one for $168 and 3 touchdowns. Those are solid numbers. Those are solid numbers for the quarterback of the number one team in the country. In comparison's sake to Jayden Daniels, it doesn't even, like, you're talking about two different leagues of quarterbacks. I mean, you're talking about like major league to like AA.
I mean, they're almost giving him the Heisman based off of like some 2011, 2010 type stats.
It's so strange that his name is like the one. It's like, I get Penix. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's having a Heisman type season.
Yeah, and then if you look at it, like most times with the Heisman, it's like the best player from the best team, and I don't even think J.J. McCarthy is the best player on Michigan's team.
I agree. It's like when people are like, well, what about Jordan Travis? You're like, what about Jordan Travis? Like, take Keon Coleman off that team and watch Jordan Travis look like a second stringer. I mean, like, really, like, he's not even the best player on the team.
He almost quit football for a reason.
So, I mean, it's just like this stuff in comparing these types of players. I just don't get. I mean, like, back to our caller, like there has been disrespect on Daniels. I don't think that it's as blatant as it once was. Back to the phone line, 707-400-5575. We are live here on Click Here Digital Campus. You're live on the show. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's Alan in Slidell.
All right, Alan, what you got?
Hey, Jordy. First of all, Lloyd, love you. I see you a couple times at games. I'm never going to hello. I just watch you go, and I'm like, yeah, I listen to that dude's voice on the weekends.
Nice, bro.
But Jordy, with Alexander being injured, you're looking at Denver in and out of the lineup. What do you think these young guys are going to have to do? Does the team play more zone, or do they rely on the athlete's speed, strength, try to run more man against Bama?
Depends on who's going to be available here, and I am under the assumption here that Denver Harris is going to be active for the Alabama game, and I believe if Harris is, here is now where you kind of unleash him to his strengths, right? You're going to have guys that are. I don't know what that cornerback room is going to look like next Saturday. I really don't. It does not feel like Zay Alexander is going to be available. It does not feel like Deuce Chestnut is going to be available. We know J.K. Johnson is not available. When Brian Kelly was talking about some of the youngsters, he was talking about Jeremiah Hughes, the rookie from Las Vegas who saw some time on Saturday night. He also mentioned Sage Ryan, and he also mentioned Stamps, who was inactive, dealing with an injury, who he expected to be back tonight. He did not mention LaTerrence Welsh, but I mean, that's the room. And so, the majority of those guys are not available. And if that's the case, look, there is opportunities for Alabama to make enormous plays. That's how they beat you. I mean, Milroe can just throw the ball over the top of you as good as anybody in the league. So the cornerback room is a major cause for concern going into Tuscaloosa, right? I right now, kind of speaking without confirmation, I would expect you to have Denver Harris would be available, Sage Ryan would be available, Ashton Stamps would be available. I did not hear him mention LaTerrence Welsh in his kind of going down the list, so I'd imagine that he's not available. Jeremiah Hughes is somebody who he mentioned that is going to be available, but I mean, you're talking about like guys that haven't played a lot of football. I mean, that was Hughes's correct me if I'm wrong, that was his first action on Saturday night. At corner?
He might have been
covering kicks.
Might have been like his second, maybe.
Okay.
I think he played against
Not a
Brown.
lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot? All right. So, I mean, Stamps hadn't played that much.
Stamps has been out.
Right? But, I mean, he's been in and out at times, but, I mean, he hadn't played a lot. And, you know, I mean, Denver Harris hasn't played a lot. You know what I mean? He's been in and out. So, I mean, you're taking a group either way that at the very least is inexperienced. Right? Like, at the very least inexperienced. So, I mean, you got to have guys that have not done it up to this point and ask them to do something on a you know, premier stage. And you're going to have some guys that really step up, man. I mean, like, you're going to have some guys that have not played, that are going to have to go.
Somebody in the chat asked, none of these receivers played corner.
I mean, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that a couple of them were really good corners. I mean,
I'm telling you, Kai Prion.
I mean, the thing about it is, I don't think you're joking. You know what I mean? Like, they might have to look
was a stud.
at a couple of different guys at different spots just because they're running out of bodies. I mean, really and truly. All right, back to the phone lines. We go. We good there, Stewie? 707-400-5575, 707-400-5575. We are live here at Click Here Digital on this Monday morning, and you are live on the Jordy Culotta Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Easy, Richmond, Virginia.
Hell yeah. What's on your mind, Easy?
Hey, first of all, I'd like to say that I was very comfortable watching the Army game. Typically in the past, LSU has gone into halftime struggling with teams like this, but I was glad to see them come out and do what they were supposed to do, and that's be dominant. I have a bit of a rant alert here. Now, this isn't a Jordy break out the 2x4 in Oklahoma drill rant. This is a culpability. The Jayden Daniels bias, it began with our own fans. There are people who would have preferred to lose with Nussmeier rather than go to the SEC championship game and win 10 with Jayden Daniels last year. Where's the culpability, Nuss Bus crew? Did it take him to become a Heisman candidate for you to realize his talent and ability? Look at what he did. He came in, I can't remember if he came in the spring or in the summer, but he won a starting job everywhere he's been. Also, 2 starters transferred when he won the job. All right. In addition to that, he had 2 freshmen starting tackles and a patched-together offensive line with a very new running game. Of course he didn't see the field. That's what you have to do when you run for your life.
Yep.
In addition, I'd also like to add, beware of this Alabama game that's coming up. Nick Saban is the king of taking away what you do well.
Right.
And Jayden Daniels is the key to that. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Easy as always, a great call, a great listener up in Richmond, Virginia. We appreciate you being interactive with us here on this Monday morning. Brings up a good point. You know, I think that the doubt on Jayden Daniels stayed around for a long time. And look, this show is guilty as anyone out there, wondering if Daniels was the guy that could make the big plays. But as Easy described, when you're running for your life, the big plays are one of the last things on your mind, right? I mean, that's where mistakes happen. And one thing that Daniels was so extraordinary at really early on was protection of the football. I mean, you know, the way that they were able to protect and keep the ball in their possession for as much as he was running around and, you know, really not looking down the field. There was a premium on protecting the ball. Now with his evolution and him, you know, really comfortably setting in, progressing through his guys out there and becoming a big time playmaker. You know, I think it's been a hell of a journey with Daniels, even with LSU's fan base. But you know, now that he is here, it is, you know, it's Camelot from a quarterback standpoint and watching him and how he plays. 707-400-5575. I also agree with Easy in what he says that Saban's going to try and handicap what you do best. Whatever you do and you do well, he is going to try and attack. I wonder if LSU does too many things well where you cannot you can't really handcuff him. We'll see. I mean, look, this is one of the best to ever do it in Saban, and he's probably, from his standpoint, a little undermanned as far as his team goes in comparison's sake to years past, but he's still there, and he still has the mind and the scheme to draw something up. That's why I say it's going to be interesting to see how they try and plan against this LSU offense, just by how productive they are. 707-400-5575. Remember, that is the phone number. We got somebody lined up. We have open phone lines. 707-400-5575. If you want to get involved here with us on the show. Remember, Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works is a proud supporter here of the Jordy Culotta Show. You can get in touch with Jude Barker and the crew just by calling Jude directly at 776-2431, 225-776-2431. Shout out to Barker Brothers, man. They've been helping us out tremendously. Had some things going on at the house, had some things going on at the Government Street office, and all those guys really helping us tonight, helping us here lately. Getting back up and moving. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. It can help you with all of your plumbing needs. Find out today. Mention the show. Save 15%. 225-776-2431. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Located in Plaquemine, but got a couple of trucks working East Baton Rouge Parish every single day. So if you need some help over here in EBR, get in touch with Jude and the crew. 225-776-2431. Back to the phone lines we go. We are live here on this Monday morning, live from our Click Here Digital Studios, and we are taking your phone calls just like we do every Monday morning during the second hour. Let's go back to them. Have a take, don't suck. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's up, Jordy, baby? This your boy Wade in Houston.
What's
out
up,
of Ruston, baby.
Hell yeah. What's happening, man? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm just, just a beautiful day in the city. Oh, Jordy, I was watching the Houston Astros game real quick last night. Did you see the catch made by the LSU fan on the home run ball, barehanded? Snag that thing, baby!
I did. That was a beautiful catch, man.
Boy, snag that thing. Back to LSU. Jordy, when is the punt return team going to cost us a game? Clayton, all you do is fair catch the ball. Catch the ball! Right. Stop letting the ball bounce 20 yards!
Right. No, look, special teams, I agree. You saw with Alabama on Saturday against Tennessee, McKinstry gave up some big-time field position by not fielding a couple of punts there early. Saban, he blew a gasket. And I when I'm watching LSU Saturday night, I kind of thought the same thing with Clayton. I mean, look, if you're not, and I am now in agreement, and look, it's taken me a while to come to this side because I grew up watching LSU have a playmaker at punt returner, from Eddie Kennison to Todd Kinchin to Kevin Falk to, name them, Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, DJ Chark, all of them, Odell, all of them,
Trey Palmer,
all of them. All of them. But now when you have these offenses, like 2019, I love Stingley back there catching punts, but it got to a point where it was like, look, don't even try. And I think he fumbled one against Auburn, and then he picked it off 2 plays later. But, it was after that where the defensive and special teams coordinator were like, look, don't even try. Like, just fair catch everything, but make sure you catch it because you don't want to give up field position, but you don't want to take away a possession from this offense. You didn't want to take away a possession from the 19 offense. You don't want to take away a possession from the 23 offense. So if you're going to be back at punt returner, I'm okay with, if you're not going to be a playmaker, all right. Just make sure you catch the ball. Like, catch the ball, give it to them in a place where they can have good drive starts from good field position, because wherever they really are, they can put it in the paint. So I agree with you. If you're going to be back there, you got to catch it. You got to catch it.
Jordy, hey, if JD5 goes to Tuscaloosa and beats Alabama, is 2-0 with 2 straight victories, he's number 2 all time, baby. Let's go, JD5.
All time. He will have his name remembered in LSU lore. It's already happening. I think he is an all-timer already.
But wouldn't he be like one of the first quarterbacks to beat Bama twice?
I'm trying to think.
The last one was who maybe, I guess you could say Jordan Jefferson and Jared Lee, because they beat him in 2010 and 2011, right?
Jordan Jefferson was the starter in 10. Lee was the starter in 11. So you're looking at two different quarterbacks. I know that Jefferson played the majority of the time, but you go with the starter as far as the who gets the win and the lose. I mean, I guess that would kind of be the answer.
Yeah.
But I mean, before
the
that,
last single quarterback to beat him back to back, Jamarcus.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Good pull, Stewie. Did Flynn beat him? Did Flynn beat him back? Well, Flynn was a 1-year starter.
But I just remember Jamarcus.
Yeah, Jamarcus beat him 05-06.
Yeah, throwing it to Debo. Just that ball was 100 miles an hour.
05. You talking about?
Yeah, when he throws it across his body and just
and he starts beating his chest.
and he slaps the hell out of that Bama defensive lineman's hand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure he grew up with him.
Yeah, and he was
he's from Mobile.
Adrenaline rushing, like, should we just beat y'all, dog?
I guess it would be Jamarcus. I mean, that is.
And I mean, Jayden Daniels would be living
almost
in
20
a world,
years ago.
Yeah, he'd be living in a world basically by himself.
Absolutely. I mean, Daniels he'd have a corner of the room pretty much alone. I don't even know if Hodson beat him twice. Damn. I mean, Hodson was hurt one year against Bama, and Mickey Guidry started, and I want to say that was their only loss in '87 when they were 10-1-1. Their loss was to Alabama on the road. They tied Ohio State. They beat everybody else. Damn. So, I mean, even Hodson, who was a 4-year starter, couldn't do it
twice.
You know what I mean? Jayden Daniels can do it not only at LSU, but he can do it only as a 2-year starter.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that makes it even more impressive. Right? I mean, like, I'd love to know who started the 04 game. Was it Marcus Randall or Jamarcus Russell? Because Jamarcus might have beat him 3 in a row. Even though I don't know if they beat him in 04. That wasn't the Dennis Franchione game, was it? No, that was 02. That was 02. 04 was Mike Shula. I don't think they ever lost to Mike Shula.
LSU won that game too, 26-10.
Who was the starting quarterback?
Hold on, wait, no. Damn, ESPN doesn't even have the stats up there.
Too long ago?
Yeah, too long ago. Must be out of their archives.
All right, so about 30 minutes left here in the show. We'll take your phone calls, 707-400-5575. If you're watching and you have not hit that thumbs up button, if you don't mind, do us a solid and click that thumbs up. If you're watching and you have not subscribed to the show, hit that subscription button for us if you don't mind. We appreciate that.
It was J-Rock.
As always, J-Rock, 3-time.
Well, it was Marcus Randall probably started the game, but then J-Rock finished
Put him in?
Yeah. I mean, they both played not very good, but J-Rock got the touchdown.
Yeah. Wow, Jamarcus. That's probably the one thing he does brag on back home. Beat Alabama 3 times.
3-0 against Bama, dog.
Wow. All right, make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. And remember, if you have a take, you can jump inside with us here, 707-400-5575. Andrew Messina asking, did Quincy Wiggins play on Saturday night? I saw him out there for a little bit.
Yeah, he got in at the end of the game.
Yeah, he got in like at the end of the game. He looks
good.
He looks the part, man.
All uniform team.
He is the all bus squad for sure.
Who'd you put on the all bus team on this team? I know. I mean, last year you had Ali Gay.
Yeah. Quincy, for sure.
Lance Hurd.
Emory Jones. Will Campbell.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Savion Jones.
Yeah.
Pert.
For sure.
Andre Sam.
Yeah.
Mason Smith.
Mason Smith for sure. He's getting back to.
Yeah, he looks good.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting in shape. I mean, he is.
He's finding it.
Yeah, he's finding it. He's finding his groove for sure.
Pete
Jenkins.
Got to get them hands right.
Pete Jenkins. All right, we'll take a break. Be back. Last 30 minutes of the show. Make sure and subscribe if you have not already done so. We're brought to you daily by Click Here Digital. We'll be right back after this. Caleb Jackson, for sure. Good pull, John Quaff. Don't let concerns about shifts in the market disrupt your long-term financial goals. Edward Jones financial advisor Daniel Newman can help. He'll work with you on an investment strategy for long-term results. Edward Jones can give you the tools and knowledge for a steady approach to hitting your financial targets. Get started today by calling Daniel Newman at 225-261-8262, 225-261-8262. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Belmont Stakes Race Training. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, go roof.
Phil's Oyster Bar, a staple of South Louisiana since 1945, located in South Downs Shopping Center and online at philsoysterbar.com. If you log online, you can learn about the private party schedule, the catering menu, and even order online. Daily lunch specials Monday through Friday. Learn about the history when Gus Piazza took it over in the early 70s, made it an absolute stop-in for everyone who came through Baton Rouge, and now Anthony, his son, carrying on the tradition. Phil's Oyster Bar, South Downs Shopping Center, and online, philsoysterbar.com.
All right, buddy. Make it a good shot. Oh, yeah. Sticking the roofing.
For a hole in your roof, for a whole new roof, go roof. Roof, roof, go roof.
As primary care sports physicians, the things we think about the most with our athletes from a medical standpoint usually involves the head, the climate, and the heart. We have to be very careful about participating in sports when it is safe, but also having the proper equipment to take care of them if we are worried about the athletes. So here in Louisiana, obviously heat can be a big problem. Things that I think about as a primary care sports medicine physician is that it's safe enough for our athletes to participate. And there are certain regulations that we follow here at Ochsner, but throughout the entire state, to make sure it is safe for our athletes to participate. When we think about concussion, we have to really recognize those symptoms from the forefront, and that becomes a cultural issue as well. As for the heart, screening exams are by far the most important thing that we can think about. We go through a series of questions, but also listen to the athlete's heart and ask about family history and other symptoms they may have had in the past. By doing so, we can identify and potentially screen out athletes to make sure that they are safe to participate in the sports that they love to do.
Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here you go.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport.
That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Let's be special. Let's be strong. Let's spell greatness from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
A real passion of mine is ACL injuries, but not just really in the treatment of ACL injuries, but how do we keep them from happening? So right here at Ochsner, we're doing some research studies on ACL injury prevention. We're working with some of our high schools, and we're testing different functional tests for athletes. And we're trying to identify people that are at risk for ACL tears. We're trying to catch them before those ACLs happen. And then we want to intervene with some injury prevention programs. And that's something that, being part of Ochsner Andrews Institute, and we can continue on that research. We can expand the impact of that research. We can bring that to more athletes in our community.
All right, welcome back here. We got him. All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show. As always, we are built by RMB Builders. Check them out online at rmb-builders.com. Shout out to our crew over at the Bengal Tiger, Billy Embody, Shay Dixon, and Matthew Brune and crew. Billy going to be here in a couple of minutes. Looking forward to bookending our weeks with the experts from On 3. Billy on Mondays, Shay on Fridays. We've been urging you to check out the podcast post-game by the Bengal Tiger. Brune and Dixon doing a great job of just kind of recapping the night. LSU did pick up a commitment over the weekend. They landed Mississippi cornerback PJ Woodland, who committed to LSU. He was once committed to Mississippi State, chose State over LSU this past summer. He returned to LSU for the Army game. He plans to visit Alabama for the LSU game, and is a guy that camped with LSU over the summer, where he picked up the offer. 6 foot, about 170 pounds. As Stewie and I were talking, this is kind of that old school mold of DBU and size and athleticism as far as some of these commitments that they're picking up. So PJ Woodland, the latest LSU Tiger to commit in the class of 2024. He's classified as an athlete, but at LSU he's going to be a DB, specifically a corner. Film not that bad. Obviously it's highlights that you're watching of him, but I mean, as far as getting out of the break, can flip the hips, can do all of the things that you're looking for from a cornerback standpoint. I believe that's what LSU gets here in Woodland. We'll talk to Embody a little bit further about that once we link up with him. He'll be joining us here in a couple of minutes. But speaking of the Bengal Tiger, they updated their Heisman odds, and they do have Jayden Daniels at the top of the list. And this is a national site at On 3, not the local guys here with Bengal Tiger. Talking about the national crew. Really paying attention what Jayden Daniels is doing. But Billy Embody, always kind with his time. We love talking to him and getting some insight of what's going on at LSU. He jumps back aboard with us here on this Monday morning, a part of our Southern Regional Medical Center phone lines, and we link up with Bill here on this Monday morning. Billy, good morning. How are you?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
Good. PJ Woodland, tell me about him.
Yeah, PJ is an interesting case here. LSU was on him this summer. They had him to camp, and they had Andre Evans, who they were pushing for at the time, to commit. He ends up committing. Ty Bates was a guy they were recruiting heavily, and they ended up landing him later that summer. They were on some other national names at cornerback, and so they worked him out. Robert Steeples really liked him, but at the end of the day, it was kind of a numbers situation that they were working with. Fast forward a few months now, they hosted PJ Woodland for a couple visits. They knew that Andre Evans was kind of in contact with Georgia and things might change there. Sure enough, he flipped last week. And now Bernard Causey and PJ Woodland are two cornerbacks that they were recruiting pretty heavily, and looking like one of them might end up in the class. Well, PJ Woodland is the first. We're still watching to see if Bernard Causey does end up in the class. They still have 5/8 committed as of right now, but that could change. But PJ Woodland worked out for this staff. Honestly, he wanted to commit this summer to LSU, and the number situation that they were working with just didn't allow that. And so they kept in contact. They watched his early senior tape, which is pretty good, really, for a guy who's was 155, 160 pounds this summer at camp. He's really fearless on tape and on Friday nights, and that's important when being a corner in the SEC. You've got to be willing to come up and make tackles. So he's displayed some good qualities on tape as a senior, and so LSU made the move on him and got him on campus a couple times, and were able to basically flip him from Mississippi State.
A couple of commits in Tiger Stadium on Saturday, including wide receiver 4-star guy in Kylan Billiot and linebacker Tylen Singleton. Singleton had I believe a 90-yard pick six in front of you, Billy, over the weekend. Singleton looks like that guy that can help LSU tonight. What does LSU get in that player out of Manny?
Yeah, I went out to Jonesboro, Louisiana to watch Manny play Jonesboro Hodge on Thursday last week, and it was my first time seeing Tylen Singleton since he was probably a freshman, alive in person, and he just did everything. He caught a big, I think, 60-yard reception that set up one of his 2 rushing touchdowns. Manny uses him on the offensive side of the ball a good bit. Basically, whenever they need a 3rd down conversion, when it's 3rd and medium, they bring him into the Wildcat and he picks it up. So he's kind of a cheat code on offense right now for them. And then defensively, he had 2 interceptions. He had that pick six that you talked about, that he took it all the way about 90 yards. And then he had a really acrobatic one where he was kind of running towards the zone, and the ball was thrown way behind him. And he stopped and basically pushed off and jumped back the other way and was able to grab it. And he ran sideline to sideline really well. He's a guy that I think, as he gets into a weight program and nutrition, will bulk up and really be a big guy. I'm trying to kind of think of a comp for him from LSU guys past, but he's pretty tall. He's a legit, I would say, 6'2"-ish, and he's got just more mass to him than I really thought, and so he'll be able to pack on more weight and be a really big physical linebacker who can play in space, which is really important in this day and age of college football. So came away very impressed with Tylen Singleton. He's a stud in this class for sure.
Looking down the line, they had a couple of future prospects in Tiger Stadium, Billy, including Lamar Brown, who's over at University High and one of the top interior offensive linemen here in Baton Rouge. He has been a guy who's seen his star really brighten up as the season has progressed. What is LSU looking at there? And I'd imagine everybody in the country starting to pay notice to what's happening down here at U-High.
Yeah, the number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country for On3 or the On3 industry ranking. He's on our watch list. He'll be right up there at the top whenever we start adding rankings to that piece of it. Georgia and LSU have really been the 2 at the top for him early on, and LSU is going to be all over him. He's on campus. He's a guy they can't let leave the state. But not only does he play offensive line and play it, right tackle for the Cubs for the most part, but he also plays on the defensive line. And LSU was kind of fighting over him this summer, which side of the ball was he going to show up in camp at this summer. So the coaches have done a nice job getting him around campus a ton. I don't think he's missed a home game this year. He'll be at LSU, Alabama, I'd imagine, as well. And he is he's a guy you've got to keep in the state. Just from a physical standpoint, he looks the part. No real bad weight on him. Moves around well. Plays both sides. I mean, he's looking like he'll have a very, very good shot to be the number 1 prospect in Louisiana in a class that includes Jakeem Stewart, who's currently the number 2 overall prospect in the country that cycle.
Looking a little further down the line, Bill, I know quarterback is a position that recruiters like to stay way in advance on. And right now LSU's got Colin Hurley committed. They've got Bryce Underwood on campus 2 weeks ago. Even George McIntyre from Tennessee has made a visit to Baton Rouge. So it looks like they're setting themselves up for a commitment to come here in the cycle. But if you look down the line in Baton Rouge, there's a kid named Elijah Havens that's playing at Dunham, who I watched Dunham play in the state title game last year, and he was an 8th grader that never came off the field. In the same stance, my dad and my son went to a basketball game this year, was U High versus Dunham. It went to double overtime, and the only player that did not come off the floor for the entire game was Havens. And now when you go watch Dunham play, he's a freshman quarterback that may be one of the top players in the state already. I have seen him hovering around LSU in an LSU gear a lot. I know Daryl Owens is one of his guys that's close to him, that has a good relationship with the program. What can you tell us about Elijah? I know he's a few years out, but he is a special prospect right here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, in today's edition of Getting Old, a 2027 prospect in Elijah Haven, who is unbelievable. He's 70 of 114 passes completed this season, 1,381 yards, 19 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's added 400 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground, and he's huge, 6'5", 190 pounds or so. And you're right, he's the next big thing out of Baton Rouge, and especially in that class right now. And Joe Sloan, I mean, it's a long way to 2027, but if Joe Sloan is still here, they're going to have a really good shot to land Elijah Haven. That's a guy that does a really good job of getting out ahead on classes. They've had some really talented 2026, and even had another 2027 quarterback in Daniel Mielke on campus from California this past weekend. But when it comes down to it, Elijah Haven is a guy that you've got to circle. And, LSU has to, if he develops the way he is, when you have a homegrown quarterback like that, you've got to land him. And so they're going to keep an eye on him, his development and what he's doing. But yeah, he's absolutely tearing it up. And like you said, he's been around LSU a good bit. He camped this summer with Joe Sloan too. So that Joe Sloan is already, making those inroads and trying to get that thing going. So whenever the time comes to make that offer or really push for him, they'll be in good position to do so.
One more for you, Billy, and this is a name, obviously, that has been trending here lately for LSU, and that's Draylon Miller. Decommitted from Texas A&M a weekend ago, and now it feels like LSU. I know I asked you about him last week. Any progression on news with Miller and what to expect on a timeline here?
Yeah, the timeline is the interesting one. I moved my on-3 RPM pick right going into the weekend on Draylon Miller from Texas A&M to LSU, and the reason I did was because there was kind of some buzz that maybe they might get him to commit this past weekend. And so with him being decommitted and not committed to A&M anymore, that unlocks the pick. So I moved it, and the buzz is still around LSU, even though he didn't make a commitment this weekend. Talking with sources around him, he does want to take his time a little bit more. He's done the whole official visit thing with some schools this summer. He does have an LSU one left. I'm not sure if he took his A&M one already. I think he might have earlier this year. But the Aggies and the Tigers are going to be battling out, I think at least, for this guy down the stretch, no matter who's the coach in College Station or what happens with LSU either. I mean, these are two programs that have gone head-to-head on double-digit prospects this cycle. And Draylon Miller is the one that committed to A&M that is now back on the market. And so there was some buzz that he might commit this weekend to LSU, but that did not happen. His dad has been pretty adamant that they wanted him to take it out a little bit longer. And Draylon wants to, and his mom and just his whole family, because he's already done the whole commitment thing. He thought he was solid. He ends up seeing kind of what's going on in College Station with the offense and deciding to reopen things. And so I don't know about a true timeline here, but he is somebody that LSU wants very badly. Just talking with sources around Draylon, LSU sits in a good spot. Does that mean they sign him? I don't know. But if something were to happen relatively soon and he make a commitment, I would think it'd be LSU at this stage. So we're watching that one very, very closely. But now that he is, it looks like, going to take it out a while, it just gets a little bit more cloudy on that in terms of where things stand with Draylon and LSU.
Billy Embody, thanks for jumping on with us here on this Monday morning. Have a great week. We will we'll talk to you next week where we are building up an in-game week for LSU Bama. Give me a quick little preview before you get out of here, as this thing's 12 days away.
Yeah, I was talking with one of our colleagues over the weekend after the dust had settled on Bama, Tennessee, and LSU Army. And I said, well, at least these two teams, early in the season, it looked like they might not make this game a big deal, just outside of it being a rivalry, with the way Bama was trending offensively and LSU had lost to Ole Miss and things like that. But no, they've both circled the wagons, and now this game means everything in terms of the SEC West, which is right where it should be year in, year out. So LSU's defense obviously is going to be the question going against the Bama offense that, is very much in question. Whichever team wins that battle will probably come away with the win if Bama's offense can cook. I think their defense is good enough to maybe slow LSU just a little bit because, LSU hasn't faced, I think, at least in my opinion, defense like Alabama with their ability to get after the quarterback and, force some pressure. They shut down Tennessee in the second half. So I don't know. I trust in Jayden Daniels to get it done. But, you've got to, if you're Matt House, come up with a really good plan to just limit that Bama offense that just hasn't been good, overall throughout the season too.
Billy, we'll talk to you next Monday, man. Thank you. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Billy Embody from 1-3 checking in this morning. Make sure and follow him on social media at Billy Embody, where you can keep up with the latest of what's happening with our friends over at 1-3. Those guys doing excellent work as far as keeping up to date with the latest on recruiting. They'll have a big visitor list in Tuscaloosa for LSU Bama, as this one's going to be a build-up and going to be a typical Tide and Tigers matchup, as this will be a top 15 matchup on primetime right in the middle of the college football Saturday, where every eyeball in the country is going to be peeking at it. So we'll be talking all about it and getting ready for it here on the Jordy Culotta Show. If you don't mind, before we get out of here, if you are watching and you are not subscribed to the channel, please hit that like and subscription button for us. If you want to keep up with the content that is coming off the channel, all you got to do is hit that subscription button. If you hit those thumbs up before we get out of here, we appreciate that as well. Good stuff today. We appreciate, as always, your phone calls, getting ready here on a Monday and getting ready for the rest of the week. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning. We'll talk to Brooke Kirchhofer from New Orleans.football. We will also talk to Wilson Alexander and get the latest on LSU football. Hopefully they have an update on Zy Alexander, and it could be positive. Hopefully it could be positive. It did not look good Saturday, but maybe since some time away they have some good news for LSU and one of their transfer corners. They need them come next Saturday versus Alabama. So thank you, as always, for being here on this Monday, for Stu and the crew. We will be back with you tomorrow morning, as always, built by RMB Builders. Have a great Monday.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time. It's the hottest show around, we ain't gotta flex. Call up G, we get it done, we earning our respect. Tell recruits to let us in, where they going next. Throw up the L's, now we lit, band playing neck. From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live, mic'd up for show. Open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show, yeah. Monday through Friday.